793 miles in total, 446 for Dave's day itself, and a day I'll never forget, unlike my camera bag, which I did. Now before you go any further, go to the description, click on the link to the GoFundMe page in aid of the NSPCC and cancer research, and drop a quid there. It was about 10 miles into our ride down to the ice calf from the West Midlands when it started to rain on the M42. This didn't last, however. The only real downside to the day, really, and the whole trip was that idiot here realised after about 20 miles that he'd left his main cameras at home. I thought it rather apt to use Johnny, a 2019 Royal Enfield Bullet Trials Works replica, because it was the model of bike used by Dave in the Christmas special last year. They only have about 27 brake horsepower, but a very torquey engine. However, 70 mile an hour on a motorway is around about 90% of its maximum speed, so you're giving it a bit of stick really, and it does sap the miles per gallon a little. Normally she'll do about 85 pottering around, up to around about 60-65 mile an hour, but with this run, especially around the Chilterns, the M40 is a little uphill and down dale in those areas, it dropped to 57 miles to the gallon. Within a few minutes of arrival, Johnny's top box, my Meccano Mark III top box, built some time back now out of necessity because I haven't got anything to put on the back at the time, and the Trials model is a bit awkward to put anything on anyway. Within a few minutes it was declared by a few passers-by as the best top box of the day. And as it was the 80th anniversary of D-Day weekend, George the Lancaster, adorned with invasion stripes, came along for the ride. I didn't want to pester Si for a photo, but took this one early on the Saturday morning. There were so many selfies took with him, which he never refused, and of course the filming for the upcoming special episode, which is out who knows when, but later this year. Then it was out and about, looking at a few bikes that intrigued me. Then it was time for the comedy stylings of Woody and Si. Informative and funny. And then a few minutes later, it was time for the off, which left bang on 8 o'clock. I've just this second seen on the BBC News that Woody says that 2,500 bikes left the ice calf. Oxford services around 9 o'clock. As we were queuing up to leave Oxford services, I was alongside a Harley trike, the rear of which you can see in this picture on the left. It was playing some music, but not to my mind what you would call apt for the day. each to their own, of course. Anyway, I shouted across. I said, have you got any AC/DC? He had a quick look. I thought, I don't know where it is. Shouts across to his mate in front on another Harley. Has a quick fiddle with his phone. And then we have Highway to Hell as we left the car park. And even though I got my earplugs in and all the other bikes, I could hear it 4 bikes back. Big thumbs up to Thames Valley Police, who held up the traffic so we could access the slip road easily. thought it best not to fill up at the official stop-offs. It'd just take too long. Add to that the very small size of the hole in the filler on Johnny takes an age to fill up. So I chose Hilton, just north of Wolverhampton, for our top-up, where we added about 1.7 gallons, which meant she did 90 miles to the gallon from London to Hilton services. Now, the other idea to filling up at Hilton was that I ought to make Barrow on a full tank, but did we? It was quite slow going to Knutsford, and by the time we got there they'd already started moving out, so there's nothing much in the way of footage or photographs from me. The signs on the motorway as we approached Knutsford said there was an obstruction. Well, that was caused by some motorbikes apparently. Big up to the Cheshire Police, who held up the traffic so we could leave straight out onto the slip road and away from Knutsford services. I particularly like the look on the face of one of the Cheshire policemen sat in the police car on the side of the motorway as we approached Knutsford. He saw Johnny and stuck his thumbs up in the air, big smiles, bouncing around like he'd been on too many E-numbers.
We're at Knutsford services, and the amount of bikes here, I don't know if anybody anticipated there'd be this many. And I'm one of the early arrivers as well. Plenty of bright shirts, day shirts.
By the time we'd reached the last official pit stop at Burton in Kendal services on the M6, the bikes were going straight in and straight out, albeit slowly, from the service area. There were that many of them. It was then off the M6 and onto the A590, which takes you about 27 miles into Barrow in Furness from the M6 itself. What an amazing ride. Absolutely fantastic. It was well attended on bridges from London on the M40. It got even more supported once you approached the Midlands, and from around Knutsford on it was just mad on the bridges. I never stopped using Johnny's horn for the whole trip, or indeed waving at times, but once we got to the A590 it was something else, and the closer we got to Barrow, well, I don't say this very often, but words escape me. Barrow, needless to say, this is just a small amount. And Johnny made it all the way from Hilton services to Barrow on one tank. It was it's been a great day, really.
We've got our Dave with us as well. Look at this. Well, I don't know where to begin. What a welcome from Barrow and Furness.
I couldn't have put it better myself, Si. This is Jim and his Royal Enfield Meteor, 1960s frame with a 1950s engine. I spotted him on the way in on Abbey Road. He was parked up watching the procession. I pointed him out and thumbs up. He waved back. And by luck he had parked behind me in the B&Q car park at the end of the ride. Of course, we had a good yak about Royal Enfields and, of course, the day itself, and had a walk into the square outside the town hall. Within sort of half an hour, it was like we'd known each other for years, and he even offered me some food and a place to stay at his home. Alas, I'd already been booked up since early April when I first heard of the event. I give it about a week and thought I'd better book somewhere, so I went with a place I know well. After quite a few Keswick Golds, something to eat, the boots are finally off after 17 hours. But it didn't stop there. The next day, I had a play in the mountains and on the coast and bumped into a few people, and some people came up to me. First couple was on a Himalayan at Boot. They're just about to go over the Hard Knot Pass. They got a flag hanging off the back, so I slammed on the brakes, turned around, and we had a good natter about the day. Later on in the Sawmill Calf, there's a couple there, one on a Himalayan, one on a Triumph. Of course, more yakking about the day. And I also had a couple of locals come up and thank me, which I take for all of us and the organisers and everybody else that made it happen, because I suppose I did feel a bit embarrassed in a way, but it obviously gave much pleasure to many people. So how did Johnny do? Well, fine, no issues at all. And a rough calculation, taking off my socks, I reckon about 89.5 miles to the gallon for the full trip, which was 793 miles.